Well, hi, folks. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather, bringing you a very quick long range up here tonight. It is Monday evening, the 3rd of October already. Where has time gone? Been a little while since I've been able to do one of these, and my apologies for that, folks. It's been a crazy past week, but things are starting to settle down. We got some crazy weather here going on in the Gulf of Mexico down here. Hurricane Matthew has formed. You've probably heard about this fair amount here on the news, but here's Hurricane Matthew right there, and it's a pretty decent sized monster of a storm. In fact, notice right about here you can see a pretty well defined eye. This is forecast to eventually sort of move in this general direction and track pretty close to the coast. It may be a close call. In fact, Florida may even get hit by this. We don't know yet. We've got a ridge of high pressure up here, though, that's going to act to force this thing to track right on a little bit to the west, depending on how fast this moves. It's moving a little bit slower than what the modeling is wanting to say about it. And of course, we got another wrench in the equation back here, and we've got another little tropical wave that's formed that could form into a storm in the next few days as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces really to this puzzle. Lots and lots of things that we have got to look at. Here's a better view of Matthew. Here's the the visible satellite loop here over the past few hours, and you can see very well defined eye wall here, and this is moving towards the north, maybe even a little bit towards the northeast here, and this is going to slam right into Haiti, unfortunately. It looks like Jamaica here is going to get spared, I think, the worst of this. There was a time when we thought this was going to go right over Jamaica. It looks like it's going to go sort of right here over the right over this little portion of Haiti and right through the strait here and then up onto the eastern side of Cuba there as well. Do think Jamaica will see some effects, but probably not as bad as what Haiti. Haiti is going to be the big concern because Haiti's had a lot of deforestation and they've got a lot of bare exposed soils. Bare exposed soils. Oh man, when you get that with a lot of water, you can get you can get a lot of mudslides and landslides off of that. So not a good situation for them. Where pretty high confidence, by the way, that hits there. It's pretty close to there right now. Where it goes past that, well, that's a little bit of a different story. Here's what the forecast track is here. According to the National Hurricane Center, here's our current position here, and this was the analyzed position at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here on the 3rd tonight. And you can see the M stands for a major hurricane, so this is Category 3 or above. And this is expected to maintain Category 3 strength at least all the way up to here before going down to a Cat 2 or below somewhere up in here. But you can see the mean path of this right here in the center would be to take it out to sea. But notice the forecast cone goes here into the part of the East Coast, and that's the forecast cone of uncertainty. What this is saying is based on track error, forecast track error in the past for the storms that they've made, that's why you have a cone. Based on the average mileage errors on certain day, the cone expands as you get a little bit out. So it might be here, or it could be here, or it could be here. So there's a lot of uncertainty. If you've got travel plans late this week along the East Coast, you're really going to want to pay attention because here in the Bahamas here on Thursday, but if this track error is a little off, it could be into the coast. It could be even hitting Miami as a Category 3 major hurricane on 2 p.m. there on Thursday, if that's right. So there are lots of questions about this, and here's why. Here's what the modeling suggests. Here's the GFS ensembles, and I want you to notice the GFS ensembles. The black is the mean of all of these. All of the other lines are the different individual members of the model. The mean is there in the black, and the mean takes it pretty close. Too close for comfort, really, before it moves it on out up here. But notice there are a number of these individual members that take it right along the coastline. That's something that's got to be watched. If we look at the hurricane models as well, the models here that are specifically designed for hurricane forecasting, you can see pretty good track here, pretty good consensus that this goes right over the tip of Haiti and then right over the eastern part of Cuba here, and then it starts to curve out. And the consensus here is that it goes tracks along the seaboard, but it's kind of on the out to sea. But there are even a few of these members here that you see that are tracking this along this as well into there. So something that we're certainly going to have to watch. We don't know where it's going to go yet. We're not going to know really for a couple of more days. Once this gets past Haiti, we'll start to see, I think, the error. We'll start to see the forecasting get a little bit better because this is still a pretty wide spread even here at 72 hours out, unfortunately. And let me show you just this. This is what the Euro model is showing. There's Hurricane Matthew down there this morning. And as you sort of get back into this, hold on, here we go. Let me get to the right one. Here we go. All right, now we move this back into motion here. And you can see there it is hitting the coast of Haiti on this. It goes through Cuba. And then watch this as it starts to sort of recurve. But notice how close the Euro model gets this here. It's offshore. It's not hitting directly onto Florida with the strongest winds. But it's there, and it's definitely affecting the coastline. And you can see how this just moves too close for comfort before this sort of recurves that out to sea in the latest ECMWF model. Here's what the GFS says, and this will affect our weather as well. On this map, you'll notice there's a front up in here. We're going to have a front move through a little bit later this week. Watch what the GFS does with this. There's Matthew as they move through the Bahamas, and notice how close this thing is to Florida. Notice this thing just takes it immediately off the shoreline. I mean, this is ridiculously close for comfort. Then it sort of recurves it back out to sea and doesn't really affect us, but it gets extremely close to this, so close, and this is trending a lot closer here in the past few model runs than what it has been. So it's still possible this could be a landfalling hurricane for the eastern seaboard somewhere. We don't know where yet, but notice what's happening here. This is a cold front that's going to move through a little bit later this week. And that right now there's some timing differences on this. This particular model wants to move it through on Saturday during the afternoon. It was Thursday originally, and then in my forecast right now still has it at Friday, because that was the latest thinking whenever I built my forecast earlier today. Now the newest models are wanting to push it back till Saturday, so there's still some timing issues in the modeling right now. The timing of when this front comes through is going to be critical, because what it's going to do is it's going to latch onto Matthew and sort of push it out to sea there. If this front is a little bit slower than that, well, it's possible it could allow Hurricane Matthew to slam in a little bit to the coast more rather than push it out to sea. So lots and lots of timing issues, and all that to say, if you've got plans to travel anywhere along the East Coast later this week or into the weekend, watch this forecast closely, because we could have a landfalling hurricane here very easily. For us back here, though, let me put this back. You notice here the latest GFS really takes us as a mostly moisture-starved front for southern Indiana. It just doesn't really put a lot of moisture with it. We'd only give it about a 40% chance of rain. I'm not convinced this is right. I think there may be a little bit more moisture than that to work with, but I don't see this as a monster rainmaker for us. Then once that gets past us, we're going to cool down at least for a few days. In fact, it could be a pretty significant cool down as this high pressure starts to settle in over us before another little warm-up takes place. And then later on mid-month, I do think as we head later on into the mid-month, that's whenever we're going to see another front move through. The modeling is all over the place for this one right now. This particular run of the GFS doesn't even show it. I think that's hogwash. I think it's there, but it's just too far out for the modeling to be able to get a right handle on it. But somewhere around the 15th, I think, is when we're going to have a pretty decent-sized cold front move through. And that could be the game changer that really changes things. It's going to be pretty warm for a good chunk of October, but we're going to have some cool snaps as well. Let me show you what I mean. Here's Matthew coming along the eastern seaboard. Well, if I can get onto here and we can get this going. Come on, you can do it. Attaboy. Well, we're just going to have to use a slider. My keys are not one to work. Good times. Here's Matthew coming up the East Coast. Notice what happens here as it moves up the East Coast. It actually starts to force heights up above us. That's going to push us back into the 80s this week, well above normal, all because this is forcing the heights to rise as this moves in. Our normal climatology right now is 72 for your high. We're going to go back into 80s this week. We're going to be well above normal. That isn't going to last long, though, because here this next front slides in this weekend. It pushes Matthew off to sea, and then we're going to be on a northwest flow for a few days. That's going to bring temperatures pretty chilly this weekend. It will warm back up after that, but then as we get into the longer term, we just really don't know about that yet, how long this warm-up is going to last. Again, I suspect by the 15th or so, we're going to have another big blast of chilly air come in. We're going to have a pretty big one this weekend, though, in the short term, though. Here we go into the short term tomorrow. We're going to look at the upper 70s to near 80. We're going to look at around 80 degrees for your high again there on Wednesday. And look at this. There's your back into your 80s, low 80s there for Thursday. By the time Friday comes, and by the way, watch this. Here is your front. And just watch how close this advances. And so it finally starts to move through the area as you wake up to the 50s, upper 50s there Saturday morning. Watch this. By later in the afternoon, this is suggesting that we have dropped in temperatures during the afternoon. And then watch this, by the time you wake up on Sunday morning, yes, this is suggesting some upper 30s could be possible around the area behind this front. So very cold air mass coming in with this. Only warming up into the 50s if this is right for Sunday. And then back into the 30s for Monday morning, up into the low 60s for Monday. Back into the upper 30s and low 40s there for Tuesday. Wednesday back up into the mid 60s, and then back into the mid 40s finally there for Wednesday, and then back up to some seasonable weather with 69 there for your high by about the 12th, and then back up into the 70s beyond that for a little bit, with maybe flirting with 80 degrees. This will probably be before another cold front moves through that's going to give us another pretty sharp cool down. And again, I think that's the picture of this month, is there's going to be about 3 sharp cold fronts that's going to come through on this weekend that's going to affect us with some pretty sharp cool down. Another one mid-month around the 15th, 16th, somewhere around in there. That's going to affect us with another pretty sharp cool down. And then later in the month, I see 1 or 2 more fronts as well, especially a pretty decent sized looking storm somewhere right around Halloween. The modeling, this particular model does not go out that far. Some of the long-range modeling does see it, and some of the organic forecasting methods suggest it as well. So I think there's something bigger in the works for us. By and large, I still think we're going to see a lot of 70s this month. I think it's going to be an up and down pattern. We're going to see some definite warmth this week, followed by a nice sharp cool down for this weekend that's going to last a few days. Then I think we're going to go back into the warmth again for a few days, and it's going to be up and down like that really the rest of the month. We always say October is a transition month, folks, and certainly it's coming true, I think, this month. With all that I'm seeing in the modeling, I think you can pretty much expect up and down sharp temperature swings as we head really through the month. You can go to Southern Indiana Weather, by the way, and go to southernindianaweather.com, click on 10-day forecast, and you can always see my 10-day forecast brought to you there by the Smile Center in Huntingburg. And again, there's those low 80s coming back this weekend as that front moves through. Fairly moisture starved. I've only went with about a 40% chance right now, folks. All right, we'll see how that does. And in fact, this may even need to change from Friday to Saturday if the newest models are right. If the newest models are right, I've got my low temperatures a little bit too warm too. I've went conservative and went 45 rather than the upper 30s. If we see some consistency this week that we're headed into the 30s, I will change that. But right now, it's just one option on the table, and confidence in the longer term is not exactly great right now. But you can see we get into a little bit of a cooler pattern here again. But even by the time you get out to here into next week, this could still be above normal. Normal is 72 today. By the time you get into next week, you're falling right down to about 69 or 70 for your normal. We're going to fall down pretty significant and pretty fast over the course of this month. So overall, it's still going to be a warm month, but enjoy these 80s if you like the 80s while you can, because they're going to be hard to come by as we get past this week, or at least the way things look right now. All right, that's it for this update, folks. I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite for SouthernIndianaWeather.com. Have a great night, folks.